Good evening, hello, good morning, whatever time it is when you are watching this video. This is the first video of the Proverbs 31 woman that we will be studying for the entire month of May. It's actually a Proverbs 31 in 5 minutes a day, but of course, we'll be going a little bit longer than 5 minutes on each session. So I want you to like each video, share each video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, share it with your friends. But we're going deep into the Proverbs 31 woman, all right? So let's get started on the first episode of the Proverbs 31 woman. And it's actually going to be verses 10 through 31 specifically that we're going to deal with for the Proverbs 31 woman. 10 through 31 specifically, okay? So I'm going to read verses 10 through 31 so you will know what it's actually saying, okay? But before I do that, one of the most misunderstood women in the Bible is the Proverbs 31 woman. The passage that describes her is Proverbs 31 verses 10 through 31. And those are the verses that we're going to be studying mainly for the entire month of May. It's so much more than just a list of requirements, which is what this book is telling us. And but if there's a different way to look at it, what if there's a different way to look at Proverbs 31? You know, there's so many misconceptions about the Proverbs 31 woman, and that's why we're going to go into a deep discussion of the Proverbs 31 woman. So I'm going to read verses 10 through 31, and you can meditate on that for the first session. And it goes, "A wife of noble character who can find? She is worth far more than rubies. Her husband has full confidence in her and lacks nothing of value. She brings him good, not harm, all the days of her life. She selects wool and flax and works with eager hands. She is like the merchant ships, bringing her food from afar. She gets up while it is still night. She provides food for her family and portions for her female servants. She considers a field and buys it. Out of her earnings, she plants a vineyard or a vineyard. She sets about her work vigorously. Her arms are strong for her task. She sees that her trading is profitable, and her lamp does not go out at night. In her hand, she holds the distaff and grasps the spindle with her fingers. She opens her arms to the poor and extends her hands to the needy. When it snows, she has no fear for her household, for all of them are clothed in scarlet. She makes coverings for her bed. She is clothed in fine linen and purple. Her husband is respected at the city gate, where he takes his seat among the elders of the land. She makes linen garments and sells them, and supplies the merchants with sashes. She is clothed with strength and dignity. She can laugh at the days to come. She speaks with wisdom and faithfully instruction in her own tongue. She watches over the affairs of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness. Her children arise and call her blessed. Her husband also, and he praises her. Many women do noble things, but you surpass them all. Charm is deceptive, and beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. Honor her for all that her hands have done, and let her works bring her praise at the city gate." And that was Proverbs 31 verses 10 through 31. So verses 10 through 12 are what we're going to focus on right now in this first episode. A wife of noble character, who can find? She is worth far more than rubies. Her husband has full confidence in her and lacks nothing of value. She brings him good, not harm, all the days of her life. So we're on day 1. So let's start this journey by making one thing clear. Proverbs 31 is not a description, a job description, or a checklist for women. It's not that, okay? It's not something that's earning you God's approval, love, or his salvation. So our works, talents, successes, and that's not gonna say that we're a good girl or anything like that. It's so much more than that. Proverbs 31. So this passage is much like a parent telling a child as they leave home to remember who you are and to remember whose you are, which I like that part that this author put in this book. Is remembering whose we are is what gives us the courage to be who we are. And whose are you? We belong to God, right? We believe in God. We belong to God. God created us. So when we're out in public, we're his children. So we need to remember whose we are. We need to remember who we belong to, right? Because we're representing the Father. And if we go out there acting a fool, then that's not going to be a pretty sight, right? That's not going to be a pretty thing. That's not going to be the way that he wants us to act, right? So because of the cross, we can walk in courage and not fear, right? In him, we can be strong, not weak. In Romans, Paul writes, we are more than conquerors. Well, how are we more than conquerors? Through him who loved us, he gives us the strength, right? So we are more than conquerors. Philippians 4:13 tells us, I can do all things through Jesus Christ who strengthens me. So we are more than conquerors. We are conquerors through Jesus Christ. God gives us conquering strength and victory through the power of the Holy Spirit, right? Because he loves us so much. We can lean on him for understanding. We can lean on him when we are weak. We can lean on him when we need that extra strength, right? So you can and should live a life of noble character through the power of the Holy Spirit. But it does not earn you salvation. And it does not make you more lovable. So, basically, day one is talking about, Proverbs 31 is about the woman you are and can be in Jesus Christ. So, are you a Proverbs 31 woman? That's the question in the first day one. Are you a Proverbs 31 woman? Am I a Proverbs 31 woman? Are we acting like whose we are? Are we acting like who we belong to when we're out in public? So in what ways are you relying on his saving work? And in what ways are you still relying on your working hands? So that's the question that you can ask yourself and write it down and answer that question. In what ways are you relying on his saving work? And in what ways are you still relying on your working hands? Are you relying more on your working hands than his working hands? That's the question. That's the question for you. So day one is basically all about who are you on this journey of becoming a Proverbs 31 woman. Who are you? Whose are you? Who do you belong to? Who are you acting like? When God sends you out into the world, each day that he blesses you to see a new day, he's sending you out into the world to be great. When you get out there, are you being great? Are you acting like whose you are, which is God's? You're God's child. Are you acting like it? Or are you acting like you're the enemy's child? Something to think about, right? So basically, that's all day one is about. Discovering who you are and whose you are. So I want to know the answer to that question that was asked at the end. In what ways are you relying on his saving work? And in what ways are you still relying on your own working hands? That's the question that you need to meditate on for today, for day one. And we'll talk about it on the next episode, all right? Or I'll go more in depth in the ways that I may be relying still on my own hands and not his, if I am. But we'll go more into it. So that is day one of the Proverbs 31 woman. And this book is by Marie Hernandez Tootin, if you would like to purchase it. This was one of my birthday gifts, and I wanted to go more in depth with it and share it with you. So we're going to go through this book together. But that's a picture of the book, and you can purchase it on Amazon if you'd like. Or I'm sure it's in some Christian stores. But that is a picture of the book. And we're just going to go and dive into this Proverbs 31 so that we can get a better understanding of who we are, whose we are, and if we really are a Proverbs 31 woman. All right, until tomorrow, meditate on the question I asked you, leave comments, and we'll go from there. This is DVibes. Be blessed and have a blessed evening. Bye-bye now.